Hi guys, and welcome back to another Cody and Rainbow Talk video. Yeah. Oh. Okay. This week we're going to be talking about happiness.
That's just vague enough to be completely true.
Yes. By happiness, we mean how to maintain it in a relationship, how we stay happy in everyday, mundane tasks and just day-to-day living.
Both with each other and ourselves.
Yes, and with our kids and our house, and just why it's so important for us to remain happy and as happy as we can and just live a joyful life. So I think happiness really comes down to the foundation of it would be just attitude, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I think if you have a bad attitude or if you happiness really is a choice. You can be living. Everybody has so many different situations and life and experiences that there is no one set way of happiness. I think you make your own happiness and you choose what makes you happy, and just like you have the ability to change things in your life, you have the ability to choose whether or not you're going to be happy or whether or not you're going to choose to be miserable.
The question I get asked a lot is like, oh hey, how are you? How are you today? And the answer's always the same. I'm always like, I'm fantastic.
Yeah.
And people are always like surprised by it. I was like, really? What'd you do today? Nothing.
Or why are you so fantastic?
Or it's like, well, really? Something special happened? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm always fantastic because why not be?
Yeah, it's totally a choice and a decision. Why not be happy? We're just sitting on the couch and the kids are in bed and nothing special is happening, but we're happy because we're choosing to be happy because really and nothing bad is happening right now.
And even if something bad is happening, the thing I like to think about is when I'm old and I'm dying, when I'm looking back on my life, I'm not going to be looking back at the little mundane things that annoy me, I didn't get, a raise, or that thing I wanted on eBay sold before I could buy it, or all this stuff. That doesn't, none of that matters in the long run. So it's really not worth caring about.
Yeah, I think it really is so important to keep things into perspective and to remind yourself what actually matters. Is this a priority? Am I when I'm old, am I gonna care about this?
You're gonna be hot when you're old.
Oh my god. Okay, so am I gonna care about this in 5 hours, in 5 days, in 5 weeks, 5 months, go on,
5 years.
5 years. Is this going to matter? Do I need to choose to feel negative right now or feel upset or unhappy? Is this worth my unhappiness? And I think it's really important to ask yourself that. And I think that also is one of the things that makes us work so well together in our marriage, because we don't really fight about things. We don't fight. We have discussions. And sometimes we can get annoyed with each other, but it's always, am I willing to make this make me unhappy? Or can we talk about this, get through it, and share our feelings and leave happy and talk while we're still happy?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Didn't we the last time we fought, weren't we 17 or something?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
No. I was newly pregnant with Mackenzie. Super hormonal, kind of crazy.
That was the last legitimate fight we've had.
And that's one of the only fights I remember us ever having.
It's probably accurate.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about that in another video of how we do there. But
one thing to note too is nobody's perfect. If somebody dies in the family or something legitimately terrible happens, I'm not just gonna be oh, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Things do happen.
Yes.
But what's important to understand is everything's gonna be okay in the end, so you just have to get through the hard times, look forward to the good times, and enjoy them when you're having them.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to remember that we're all human. We're not going to have, just because we're happy doesn't mean that every day is perfect. Doesn't mean that any day is perfect. We have bad days, we have bad moments, but a bad moment doesn't have to mean a bad day. A bad day doesn't mean a bad life.
And a bad life doesn't make you a bad person.
Exactly. And just like Cody said, if something really terrible happens, or if something, like, you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to be human, you're allowed to feel anger.
We're not saying we're better than anybody because, like, I'm just happy all the time.
Yeah, we're not saying,
No.
oh yeah, we're happy and we never get mad or anything. We do. You're allowed to have human emotions, and that's healthy and normal, but I think it's what you do with those emotions.
Absolutely.
And how you perceive them. For example, like, if somebody in the family were to die, that would be a sad thing. But I think there's so much growth and learning and about yourself and about others in these moments that they're still good moments in a way.
As much as the good moments defines a person, the bad ones do too. And how you react to those moments really means a lot. Like, if
the bad
you
moments don't define you, but how you react does.
Yeah, if you let something bad consume you, that's not a good thing. But if you can take it in, learn from it, and then express it and move on,
acknowledge
is the best
that a bad
thing you can do
happened
for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. And all of that kind of bubbles together in marriage as well. Just deciding what you choose to be happy with, what you choose to be upset about. And again, deciding, does this really matter? Is this really worth it? And why can't I just have a simple discussion about it instead of freaking out?
And the thing is, too, would you rather ignore the person or be mad at them or want to hurt them or whatever emotion you're feeling? Or would you rather, like, have a hug or just, like, relax with them or, like, try and figure an issue out? Because what'll make you feel better in the long run? There might be momentary satisfaction out of, like, I'm just going to ignore her all day, or, like, oh, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
But it's just... it's so brief that it's not worth it, especially with the damage it can do to marriage or relationship with kids. Same thing goes with your children.
Yeah.
It's like you just kind of have to, like, everybody gets frustrated. It happens to everyone about, like, even the littlest things. It still happens to us.
Yeah.
But you just have to get over it because it doesn't really matter.
No, and I am the perfect example of this because I have had to grow from a lot of, like, resentment and unhappy, like, I had a pretty unhappy childhood, and so I hold on to a lot of kind of baggage from that, or I have, and I've had to work through that all of my life, and so sometimes I want to just give in to that emotion, be like, I just want to ignore you, I want to, like, make you, like, feel the way you made me feel.
Hurt like I do.
Or, like, but instead, it's so much more gratifying to just be, like, vulnerable and just be like, you hurt my feelings. And this is how I feel. I feel sad. And I don't like that you laughed at that or something. And put it all out on the table, and then usually that person doesn't realize that they made you upset, or maybe they were in their moment too, and then once one person is vulnerable, it's a lot easier for the other person to drop their guard and be like, oh, I'm sorry, well, you made me feel this way, so I reacted this way, and I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. You know, it's much easier to, like, and then you can carry on happily after that.
It also helps a lot to strengthen a marriage, because if you just hold in all your feelings and your anger and resentment because, like, nah, that person did this to me, I'll get him back in, like, a year, it's like, that's not good.
It's crazy.
Like, we talk about any feelings we're having,
even if it's silly, like, even if it's like, that girl looked at you and it made me feel jealous, and I feel like I feel silly for feeling jealous, but I want to express to you that made me feel jealous, and I'd like to talk about it. Like, that is good and healthy, and that's, I think, why our bond is so strong, is because we just talk and just
figure it out. That's really our key to happiness.
It is.
At least in a relationship. We just talk and figure it out.
Honesty and trust.
There's days where you annoy me, or there's days where I annoy you, but it's just...
It's like, for example, like, when he leaves his clothes on the floor, or leaves his socks on the bathroom floor, or leaves his clothes beside the hamper, it's like, in the moment, I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, pretty much. But then I have to stop and think and be like, okay, does this really matter? Is this really worth going off on him and making him feel bad because he did this? Or maybe could I bring it up later when I've cooled down and be like, hey, I noticed that you left your socks on the floor. I'd really appreciate if you picked them up next time.
Socks on the floor? integrity of your marriage.
Yeah, like, you have to decide, like, what's important and what's not. And once you start to do that, you really be surprised at the things you can let go, or the things you can approach in a different way and have more self-control about. And then, in result, you get a much happier day and life in marriage, because who wants to get that worked up?
No one wants to be depressed. No one wants to be angry or unhappy. Well, maybe you want to be for some reason. But it's so much better to just be happy. So just let yourself. A lot of people don't let themselves because they might not think they deserve it, because they were lazy that day, or they did something crappy, or just or
So
something bad happens to them and they're like, oh, it must have happened for a reason. Like, no. You just gotta give yourself...
Every person deserves to be happy, and
Yeah.
you need to fully believe that. And I think a lot of it is also, it's kind of like a journey of yourself as well, because if I'm not healthy in myself, like, not physically, but like, I don't know, like emotionally and stuff, then I can't maintain a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship with you or my kids or my friends or my family. It's just, you need to be comfortable and to be happy within yourself. I think that's really an important thing.
Extremely.
Because really, when it comes down to it, you have to decide, like, once everything is said and done, maybe, say, on your deathbed or whatever, you have to be happy with what you left and what you left to other people. And not only what you've given to other people, you are allowed to want to be happy all the time. And you're allowed to just take all that happiness in. It's good for you. It's like the socks on the floor example. Again, like, you have to decide if that's worth your personal happiness. He could leave his socks on the floor and I could choose to get mad at him. And it's not only about maybe ruining his day, but do I need to ruin my day? Do I need to feel sad or mad right now? Or can I just remain happy and let it go and be thankful that I have a husband to leave socks on the floor? That my husband comes home from work and he's safe and he's, like, living with us, and he's just, like, I get to live with this other person regardless of maybe some of his habits annoy me and some of my habits annoy him. We get to be together, and that's such a blessing in itself that it's important to try and keep that at the front or at the top of your thoughts, so that it really can put things into perspective for you and keep you with a happy and more light attitude towards life and just little mundane things.
Absolutely.
So, if you can tell, we could probably go on with this topic and branch out forever, but we will leave you with that today on our ideas of happiness and how we stay happy. And yeah, so I guess we will see you next week, and stay happy.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.